I'm Mango Thunderslice, and today we are continuing with how the Redheads built the pyramids, and this day we are transitioning to a different book, Irish Wisdom Preserved in the Bible and Pyramids by CONOR MACDARI. Chapter 1, The Problem of the Pyramids. The solution of the mystery of the pyramids of Egypt has been a problem which has not only puzzled mankind in general during the ages of the past, but which has as well mystified the minds of scholars and thinkers even to our present day. For, expecting the select few who were initiates of the ancient priesthood to whom it was a carefully guarded secret, no others knew or understood its full import and significance. The Great Pyramid, in its original and dazzling splendor of light under the Egyptian sun, was the object of wonderment and awe to a beholder. It surpassed in sublime grandeur any other monument or structure ever erected by man on this globe. It was considered the greatest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Its partial destruction and defacement by removing its upper part and capstone, and by stripping it of its outer casing of white stone, which gave to it an aspect of dazzling brightness, leaving it in an outward appearance bare and nude, silent and mute as to its mission, as a milestone without a figure. This has been a great loss to mankind. In its former glory it was a mountain of light, a blaze of brightness, a symbol in the desert. It was a testimonial and living stone, bespeaking to mankind of their inheritance in a spiritual kingdom. At noonday its lofty golden capstone seemed to be at one with the sun, uniting earth and heaven in eternal unity, a symbolic union of spirit and matter. To mar this sublime pillar, this grand masterpiece of the Irish Magian priests of Iessa, was a part of a plot as selfish as any ever conceived. It was conceived and put into effect by the ruling spirits at the head of the Roman Church and state of their day, who cherished the ambitious and far-reaching idea of nothing less than universal rule for their church and empire. In the course of these pages I will endeavor to explain and expose the conspiracy and the means by which those designing men who composed it advanced their project. And, with the aid of their successors, they, I purport to show, by persistent effort, brought the greater part of the Western world under their empire and church dominion, and brought this conspiracy to an almost complete success. It was the idea held by the leaders of the Roman Church and state. They were practically one, that all power should be centralized in the head of the church, who was also emperor of the state, and any and all religious institutions which in any way conflicted with this ideal were to be done away with. For this reason the mystery cults were suppressed and initiation into the ancient or esoteric mysteries were forbidden, so that no religious establishment, worship, or practice would exist which could draw and hold men to it other than the Roman state church. And besides, as the study and preparation necessary for those who were selected for initiation into the higher mysteries was such as to develop a highly philosophic and spiritual state of mind, such study and preparation did not comport with the object which the church rulers had in view. Such minds would not yield adherence to a mere political and idolatrous church whose doctrines were in the main intended for the uninstructed multitude. Such minds could not be dominated by a political or mercenary priesthood. They were enlightened men, and they stood in the way of the church project. Therefore, the institutions which produced such men were to be suppressed. The Great Pyramid of Iessa was used as a temple of initiation for inculcating the mysteries of nature and the occult powers of the soul. The decree of the church and the execution of its policy to close the Great Pyramid Temple and suppress its institution practically put an end to the development of enlightened minds in the Nile Valley. The way was then clear for the unopposed spread of superstition and cruel fanaticism among the masses. With the Great Pyramid closed, its passages filled up with stone and rubbish, its initiate priests banished, the way was paved for the long night of darkness and ignorance which followed, and which is known in history as the Dark Ages. These were the conditions which were best suited for the political Church of Rome to take root and flourish in, and wherever she flourishes today such conditions are more or less present. During the Dark Ages, intercourse between the countries of Western Europe and few who happened to be enlightened enough to know of their existence, as education was not as general at that time as it is today, it was mostly confined to small castes even in the so-called enlightened countries. Since the Napoleonic expedition to Egypt in the early part of the 19th century, and because of the accounts brought back by those savants who were members of that expeditionary force, an intense interest was awakened in France, Germany, and particularly England, where a hot controversy raged for many years between the advocates of different theories as to when the pyramids were built, for what purpose, and who their builders were. All of this resulted in the creation among the enlightened class of what was practically a pyramid cult. This cult succeeded in spreading its views from this British center to all other countries. It served to bring about an intense interest in the Great Pyramid and caused an almost endless speculation as to its erection and use. Some held that it was built as a place of worship, others that it was built for a granary, a place of refuge in time of danger or of flood, a tomb for a king, or merely as a caprice or whim of a ruler to keep the people employed. The idea was also advanced that the pyramids and obelisks were built as part of a system for the measuring of time by the length of a shadow they cast, and for determining the length of the seasons and the proper time for planting. Some of these speculations were as specious and far-fetched as others were ingenious, but all to vain purpose. Deep thinkers could not quite accept the prevailing opinions, although none came forward with a solution of the problem. From the nature of the task, we know now that it was too difficult for any individual researcher to accomplish in such a short time, especially during the distraction of a controversy. The proofs were cryptic and were hidden too deeply behind a smokescreen of false history and myth to be easily discovered. It required time to analyze and examine the evidence and to sift the true from the false. This we have been able to do with the aid of those who have gone before us. However, the whole controversy served to arouse an intensified interest, such as has been awakened among scholars and thinkers everywhere in the Great Pyramid. This companion piece of the Bible, the one in art, the other in literature. The Bible is the word in script, the Great Pyramid is the word in stone, and both came from the same source, the Irish Magian priesthood of Arya. The interest in this great structure has been stimulated, especially during the last 50 years, since the increase of travel and the wide circulation of books and the description of travelers. Through this means has interest been kept alive and a desire to know the history and secrets concerning those most curious and mysterious monuments of the past to which we are heirs. The fact that the solution of the problem of the pyramids was not given out to the world before now is no proof in itself that this knowledge did not exist. It is my belief that it was always known and in the possession of the ruling spirits of the Church of Rome and the high priests of the Church of England. The success of the former institution was dependent upon the suppression of this knowledge, but it was, and is up to this day, also one of the most jealously guarded secrets of the High Church of England. Otherwise, this knowledge could not be widely known, as the evidence is so plain that it is only through a studied and agreed upon silence that the facts have been kept from becoming common knowledge. The Great Pyramid, and the group of which it is the premier, together with the temples of the Nile Valley, are the most convincing witnesses and testimonials, offering no chance for contradiction or uncertainty as to the accomplishments and genius of the Irish, or as it is called in history, the Aryan race. In their great missionary pilgrimage, they circled the globe in order to give religion and knowledge of God to the different races of mankind. They also established priesthoods and gave alphabets to the races who were unenlightened in such manners up to that time. Ireland is the country in which the arts and sciences were first discovered and developed. To this country the Greeks applied the term ogygia, a term which was never given but to the very ancient, and it is from the Irish, Aryans, that the Greeks traced their descent. Donnelly's Atlantis, page 458. To the Irish Magi we owe the discovery of fire and the common grains which they developed from the grasses. They were the first people to practice agriculture. They invented the common tools of workmanship which have come down to us practically unchanged from those ancient times. There is no mistaking the monuments left by the Irish, who were once the rulers and masters of the whole earth. Their rule embraced all countries. It was worldwide. Ireland was the first mistress of the seas. It was the first and only worldwide empire which has ever been known. For it was spiritual. It was greater in extent than Persian, Greek, Roman, or Mughal ever attained to. The remains of their works, wherever they are found, bear an unmistakable similarity in shape and character. They are huge, immense, and conceived and carried out on a plan so extensive that it awes the mind of the man of today. These remains extend from Ireland along the Atlantic coast of Europe to Africa along the Mediterranean Sea to Egypt, India, China, Java, Tahiti, and the Caroline Islands in the South Pacific Ocean. On the American continent, we find the Round Tower near Newport, Rhode Island, which bespeaks its Irish origin, and the great pyramidal mounds of the Ohio and Mississippi valleys. Also the ruined temples of Yucatan and Mexico, and similar remains in South America, are all evidences of their handiwork. All owe their origin to the same source, and they establish beyond any doubt that the Irish were the first real discoverers of America, and that they established civilization on this western continent. It was tradition founded on that fact which gave hope and encouragement to later adventurers. The very name of God among the Indians of our country was an Irish name derived from those missionaries and explorers centuries before Christopher Columbus or Eric the Red were born. One of the Irish names of God is Man, and Manatha is the Irish word for holy. The Indian name for God was Manitou, the Holy One. The Indians also had another name for God, and this again was Irish. It was Manavasha, the sun god. It is a compound word with the root word man, holy, and basha, of the cows, the bull, that are virtually the same as Baal, the Irish sun god. So the name signifies the holy life-giver or holy creator. Anyone who knows the Celtic tongue will recognize this fact at once, and so will all competent students of philology. No one after reading this treatise on the Great Pyramid will ever have a doubt as to who its authors were, or as to whether the high personages in England, who have always assumed direction of the ship of state, have had a knowledge of who the builders of the Great Pyramid were. Nor will there be any doubt but that the ruling spirits of the Church of Rome have had this knowledge, and that they keep it still a close secret. It is high time this knowledge be given to the world, and responsibility for its suppression be placed where it belongs. There has been maintained a smokescreen around Ireland since the English invasion and the consequent looting of the island with the destruction of her sacred shrines, which was meant to obscure her great past, her contribution to letters, science, culture, true religion, and civilization. It goes without saying that we owe more to ancient Arya for these blessings than to any other people or nation. And so that is chapter 1, Irish Wisdom Preserved in Bible and Pyramids by CONOR MACDARI. The link to this book on Amazon will be down below. It's another Kindle book. It seems that etymology and the simple existence of the pyramids is proof that we have a culture on this planet that is far older than 10,000 years old. The flood, which did happen, nobody disputes, around 10 to 13,000 years ago. Before that time, there was a unified human civilization, and even since that time, basically the Aryan church, the Hyperborean church emanating out of Ireland, was the predominant emanator of culture, right? This is where spiritual traditions across the world, from India to China to Japan to the Americas, all across Europe and Africa, this is where they come from Ireland. And that is because we were one human civilization. And as Michael TSARION suggests, people of any race can be a spiritual elder, right? This is not about the white guy, right? It's about a caste of spiritual elders who gave wisdom to the people of this planet and guided civilization. And right now we have false prophets and false rulers masquerading as the holy, they are imitating the structure of those who came before, right? And that's what we're going to get into in the next chapter. But for now, that's chapter 1. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're liking this series, give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, yeah, let me know what you think. If you've heard this before, let me know. And if you haven't, yeah, let me know what sort of reaction you get. In any case, hope you guys are having a good time. I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Ah.